The Miata has been around so long, 4 generations in fact, that it's really hard for people to understand what an impact it had when it was released. So, is it a used car classic or just an old used car? Let's find out. Well, in terms of its styling, I say it's an instant classic. This one is all original except for the OZ wheels. But it actually wasn't original at all when it was introduced in terms of its styling. More on that later. It has a friendly face. It's definitely a car that you'd like to get to know better. Sure, it's simplistic and subtle, but it's the quintessential roadster design. Just 2 seats, sporty body, convertible top, and certainly stylish too. This particular one has a few issues around the body. A minor little ding here that's pretty hard to see. It's currently missing its Mazda emblem. And a bit of a crinkly rust situation here, but nothing major. I heard it saw some track use in a past life, but then it had a new engine put in, so that's the story with this one. So it's certainly seen some fun in its past. It's got a couple 100,000 miles, but it now runs quite nicely and it looks decent too. It's definitely a good looking car, top up or top down. The interior is simple and Spartan, just like a roadster should be. Now before anybody says anything, yes, this one isn't automatic, but more on that later. It's got a radio, air conditioning, heat, nice vents that you can definitely direct the airflow very well. Even has 2 cup holders. Nice. Automatic transmission, as I said before. There's a storage console here, power windows right here, and inside that storage compartment is where you find the gas tank release. This one has a pretty cool custom roll bar here and a glass back window. Great to have. Now, it is very close fitting with the roll bar, but it does work and you can unzip it to take the top down. And besides, most people that have these are going to keep the top down all the time. This one does have seat covers, although they look kind of nice compared to some seat covers I've seen. And the seats are very comfortable and supportive as well, which is a plus. The steering wheel, very small, simplistic, a couple of horn buttons on there and an airbag, that's it. This one has a cruise control option and it works, which I'm pretty psyched about. I like the cruise control. And it's got some cool pedals too. Well, at least the accelerator's cool. You also get a real handbrake, which is good if you want to do some power slides occasionally. You get a cigarette lighter, which is nice to charge your electronics. And the gauge cluster. Very simplistic. Nice big tachometer. Nice big speedometer. Oil temperature gauge. Also a temperature gauge here. And of course, a fuel gauge. So overall, it's a nice, sporty, simplistic interior with everything you need and nothing you don't. And I think it looks pretty classic, if not a little dated these days. Checking out the trunk, and it's actually not too bad. It's not hugely spacious, but you can certainly get away with a weekend trip's worth of luggage. You get a spare tire donut here, and plenty of room to fit my disc golf discs. If you like disc golf, check out my videos elsewhere on YouTube. Well, this being the NA first generation Mazda Miata, it's powered by a 1.6-liter inline 4-cylinder, made into a 5-speed transmission, or in this case an automatic transmission, and it produces 114 horsepower at 6,500 RPMs and 100 pound-feet of torque at 5,500 RPMs. 0 to 60 takes about 8.5 seconds. More on the other engines a bit later. So there's 4 versions of the Mazda Miata. The NA, which I'm testing here, lasted from 1989 to 1997. In 1995, you got the larger 1.8-liter engine, and it's been the lightest so far at just 2,070 pounds. Of course, less weight means better handling and more speed. So another reason that I think the NA is the most pure. In 1998, the NB came out, and that lasted until 2005. It came with fixed headlights, a bit more Mazda-like, and less pure in my opinion. 2,348 pounds, so almost 300 pounds heavier, and it was wider, but more aerodynamic also. The NC came out in 2005 and lasted until 2015. That was an all-new car with no components shared with any other Miata. It actually pulled a 0.9 on the skid pad, which is pretty good, and it had a 16-valve 2-liter engine. In 2006, the coupe convertible came out, and that's a hard retractable top, which I've tested. You can look for my review of that one. And most recently, the ND came out in 2016. I've reviewed that one. Look for my full review. But basically, it's back to basics for that one. Very impressive, and back down in weight too to 2,332 pounds versus the last generation, which was 2,447 pounds, the NC. Well, here I am, driving in my all-new, to me, 1990 Mazda MX-5 Miata. We just call it the Miata here in the United States, and I can remember when this car came out. In fact, my across-the-street neighbor, who was a retired admiral in the military, 4-star admiral actually, he had just gotten one, and he was one of the first ones to get one. And man, the excitement about this car is really, really hard to understand today, because there's plenty of convertibles these days if you want a convertible. There's plenty of classic cars on the market for decent, fair money. But this was back in the day when a sports car, especially a foreign sports car, meant that, you know, you could drive it a bit during the week, and then you'd have to tinker with it all weekend. So the Mazda Miata changed all that. It was a Japanese sports car that was an absolute total ripoff of the mid-60s Lotus Elan. It looks just like it. And that really, really, really touched a nerve with the American and the world car buyers. People longed for a sports car that was fun to drive, simple to maintain, and most of all, reliable and practical. And along came the Miata, and man, it was so cool, and it sold and sold and sold and sold. And that's a good thing, because there's many on the market to choose from these days. I picked up this one. It's got a 1.6 liter engine. Apparently the history on this car was it had been raced, and then I guess the guy retired it from racing and put in just a regular stock engine. So the car has 209,000 miles on it, but it really has less than that because it's a newer engine and it's been pretty well maintained. Heck, the cruise control even works. That's awesome. But it's red, just like that first one that my neighbor got. My preference would have been blue, but hey, when you're buying a used car, you go for the car you want at the price you want, and you get it. You don't worry too much about color unless that's a big deal to you. Right now, in terms of pricing, these early Miatas and pretty much all the first and second generation Miatas are really a used car bargain. They're cheap to get into, and you can get plenty of parts for them, and you can customize them, so it really, really makes them quite easy to own and fun to own too. You can really customize it to exactly the way you want it, and that's a great thing about these Miatas. They offer an incredible amount of fun for a very low price, and what I mean by that is, okay, it's not the fastest convertible that you can get right now, certainly not, but like I talk about in many of my car reviews, the limits of modern sports cars are so high that you really need to be on a track to experience them. Not so in this Miata. You know, it was a wet day when I picked it up, and you can easily get this Miata loose if you wanted to. And that's what it's all about. It's about front engine, rear wheel drive handling with a short wheelbase, and just enough power to have fun with, but not so much that you can get yourself into trouble. If you want more power, it is out there. You can put in a 1.8 liter engine from a later Miata, or you can put in a turbo or a supercharger or an exhaust. There's many, many things you can do. But in terms of pricing, you can pick up a parts car in somewhere in the hundreds. Drivers are going to be starting at probably about $1,000 all the way up to maybe $15,000, $20,000 for a super, super rare low mileage example. But there's a lot in between there that should fit your budget and the amount amount of options you want. There's some special edition Miatas out there, the British Racing Green, the one that's in that nice blue color. You can get wood shifters, wood steering wheels. Really, really cool stuff that they actually made factory. So there's a lot of options out there. If you want one, just find one in your price range, drive it, and just make sure that basics are there. The brakes are good. You want to check for rust on these early Miatas because some of them do rust a bit, but they tend to be pretty darn bulletproof in terms of mechanicals and just starting and running reliability. This one actually has an automatic transmission. That's kind of shameful in the Miata, but then again, it's not. You know, I have a lot of cars, and this one came along. I was looking at another automatic Miata, and you know, it is actually an incredible car with an incredible shifter if you get it in the manual version. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the best shifts out there. It's a short throw. It feels snicky, and it's really, really awesome. I've driven them, and I've reviewed many, many other Miatas. Look for my reviews of those elsewhere on YouTube for the shifting versions. But this one's an automatic, and this one is very, very old. The first generation Miata, to me, it's the most pure, and the shape is there, and the history is there, and it's just an ultimate, ultimate classic. You really can't touch this car in terms of price per performance and fun factor quotient. It's really, really amazing. There's really no reason to be a hater about the automatic transmission. These days, the technology has advanced so far that automatics, dual clutches, they shift quicker than you can. CVTs, you know, there's no shame in shifting yourself. I mean, this is a sports car that anyone can enjoy. You know, a new driver can enjoy this, and they're relatively safe compared to many cars out there. And it's easy to shift yourself if you're in traffic. So you can let your girlfriend drive it, you can let your wife drive it, and they'll really enjoy it. It's different than some of the other cars I own. I love convertibles. I have an Audi TT Quattro. You can check out my review of that one. Porsche 911 Targa. Of course, those are both shifting cars. But, you know, I also have 1964 Corvair convertible. That's an automatic. And this one is, you know, so much easier to drive. The technology, even in the 80s, was much more advanced than what you were used to. It was brakes that actually worked, you know? A car that felt peppy, a car that handled well, and most importantly, a car that started. So, like I said, this Miata was paradigm shifting, and everybody came out with convertibles after that. The Mercury Capri, so many other cars were spawned from the Miata, and everybody started making convertibles again. So it was a renaissance car. It was a car that really ushered in a new age of the convertible, and that was excellent. It came out at a time when only the Alfa Romeo was available, and that was really the only sports car you could get. And you know, the Alfa Romeo Spider is a great car, and thankfully Alfa's back in the United States now. You can check out my review of the all-new Alfa Romeo. But this one, when it came along, game changer, and it was just so incredible. And as a used car classic, it still is. I'm loving it. Another thing I just love about this first generation Miata is its size. You know, cars these days just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that holds true amazingly for the Miata too. If you look at this Miata compared to the new ones, you'll be very surprised at how much smaller it is. And again, smaller, shorter wheelbase, well, that makes for a more nimble handling sports car. So in many ways, this first generation Miata is much, much more pure than the modern car. The modern car has incredible amenities, and it's a heck of a lot quicker, but still, this NA Mazda Miata, first generation, is still much, much more pure. Now in terms of speed, well, it's not very fast. 0 to 60 in 8-9 seconds, depending. I clocked around 8. It's probably more like 8.5 though. I was really pressing it. But, you know, like I said, it's enough power to have fun with, and you can get the car loose loose, you can experience a bit of understeer, you can induce some oversteer, get the back end to slide out, and you can really have fun with this Miata. It's nimble, it's precise, it's fun, and this one happens to stop well, brake well, and go well. It starts right up, and it's very reliable so far in my ownership, and it just puts a smile on my face. It takes me right back to 1989, 1990, when I saw the first ones here, and it really is a joy to drive, and it's a joy to own too, because it's simple, it's easy to get parts for. I've seen used engines out there for $500, $600 for a whole engine. So there's a lot you can do with these. You can customize them. It's a no-brainer, and right now I think they're very cheap. You can get even a nice special edition one for a fair price. So if you've thought about buying a convertible roadster like this little Miata, you should definitely give it a try. Go out there and drive one, and I really think you'll be hooked. It offers a perfect combination of great styling, great handling, a bit of speed thrown in, and the ability to customize it and make it your own. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to me on YouTube. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Drivin Ivan.